334-3000. Give us a call. Unscripted sports talk in your living room alongside Corey Smith. I'm Jeff Cook. Sean and Jordan are standing by to take your call. Actually, they're seated, but they're not conceded.
Sean's walking away.
Oh,
so
well,
if
we get overloaded, he can be back in the control room in a country second.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's week number 883 of the modern incarnation of the program. They had the dropping of the ping pong balls for the NBA.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So,
An infinitesimal chance.
What a word. Yeah.
Because they changed it, what, 10, 15 years ago, maybe longer. They didn't want just the last place team to automatically get the number one pick.
Yeah.
Because people would be tanking galore.
Yes. So the Dallas Mavericks, 1.8% chance to win the lottery and get the number one draft pick. Now, the funny thing is,
So, I mean, they had 1.8 ping pong balls in the till?
or however that works with, the other balls. And all that there.
okay.
But the funny thing is, they actually won a coin flip with the Chicago Bulls because they had the same record. And, the way that they got out of the playing round and all that, they flipped the coin, and the Dallas Mavericks got a better odds. So they went from a 1.7 if they would have lost the coin flip to a 1.8, whatever the tenths
Seems
of a,
wee.
Yeah, so it's very lots of Bull fans are up in arms like, hey, we could have the number
Where'd
one.
they end up?
Towards like 13 or something like that. There,
Yeah,
so
I mean, it's. So we know that the Spurs are second, the Sixers are third, and you already are putting some speculation out there that Giannis wants to play for a team with a chance to win it all, and maybe he doesn't feel like the Bucks give him that chance, especially with the versus Spike Lee or.
Well, I mean, you just go back to the 90s and how in the early 2000s of that
Reggie
rivalry.
Miller, he scored 8 points in 13 seconds or
13
something
seconds
like
there,
that.
yes.
I'm sure Pacers fans know.
But
I'm sure Knicks fans want to forget, but yeah.
If I have to pick one of the three that could come out of this deficit or at least make it a 7-game series, I would probably pivot to the Cavs. But the way the Cavs been playing, I mean,
man, they were down by 50 points in the first half.
I think they closed the half down by 41. So
yeah, I mean, I see because by attrition, because the Celtics already Porzingis damaged goods. Now they don't have Tatum. They got some depth, but man, it's gentleman sweep written all over it.
I think so too.
So the Cavs, man, they got to right the ship in a hurry.
It was about
Mobley's hurt, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Did he play in the last game?
I don't believe so. And then Donovan, who knows how he's going to fare? He's questionable to play. So
yeah, I mean he's tough, but he's like Jimmy Butler. You can't do it all. You need a sidekick or two.
So just seeing these teams, the equation for all of it is the injury.
Let's talk about that. There is a chance Steph Curry will come back.
There is a possibility there.
And where's Game 5? Is it in Golden State?
Game 5 would be in.
Okay,
that would be in Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess if Steph Curry can come back, they've got a chance. But I mean, it just looked like Minnesota looked a much younger, fitter team. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no way that the Warriors. I know they have some young players, but I mean, Draymond Green, long in the tooth. Seth, long in the tooth. Who else they have who's been around for a while?
Well, I mean,
They got Looney.
Yeah. And then
He's not getting any younger. Who is? But
let me check the roster here with possibilities of. Let me see here.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, I want to remember to talk about becoming a Patreon and helping community media with monthly giving.
You look where they're at. I mean,
Yeah.
so Bud Black gets the axe, and then
Always takes the
Mark
fall.
Redmond, the bench coach,
Okay.
gets the heave-ho as well. So it's
Did they name an interim?
the third base coach. The
Okay.
third base coach is now the interim manager. But you look at their run differential, it's minus 129.
In
The
41
next
games. So
closest-
they're getting outscored by
The
an
team
average
that
of
has the
3 runs a game.
second worst run differential is the Miami Marlins, and they're minus 72. So just put that in perspective. It's just,
57.
they're kind of on pace to have a run differential.
They don't score a lot and they give up a ton of runs. That's what it is.
Yeah, they might be on pace for a run differential of minus 450. And that is just absurd of where they're coming from. And it's just they're in the bottom of every stat out there. So I don't see any way of them coming back. And it's just,
Well, the
demoralizing.
Phillies, the Rockies are coming into town. I mean, that's a chance to really make some. Like you said, you got to make hay against teams like the Rockies and the Pirates. Well, how about Derek Shelton? Did we ever put him on the hot seat? He got canned recently.
Which would lead me to the ET, which is a weird way of going to the ET when someone gets fired. But the second game for the interim manager, Don Kelly, he gets ejected. His second
Showing a little
game-
spunk.
Yeah, a little.
They won his opener.
Yeah, he won his opener and then lost the second game because he got ejected. So,
Okay.
but Don Kelly, is part of the ejection, which brings me to the ET. It is now up to 29.
9. This is an explosion.
I know,
A
man.
9-point gain.
Yeah, I think it was lots of managers, getting the quick toss there. So
I got to send out a memo to the league. Cool it. I want to win this in-house competition.
I
Too
think
many ejections.
we're at 29. 6 weeks into the season there? So
6 months, so another 4. That's like over
301,
100.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
What did I say?
I think you said like
Somewhere.
one. I think it's gonna be right over.
Here it is. ET. I said 100. I'm still feeling pretty good.
If I have to
The
look
next
at,
highest is 180.
I like
Cousin
Jack's
Jack.
number. I like
Yeah.
Jack's at 180. I think that's a sweet mark. I think I might have went over. I was right on the mark, last year there, but 205. I think that's just slightly a little too high. I think Robert at 256, unless there's a bench clearance brawl that I'm not aware of. I don't think he's going to reach 256. But you
Robert's
never
always
know.
been bold in his
Yes.
predictions.
His what's his football predictions? Like 30-7 or
Something like
30,
that. 35-10. something like that.
35-10? I think yeah.
I think he's moved off of that. He mixes it up a little bit more now. Yeah, I'm really impressed how much you can learn just by reading the old scrolls. Tom Linhart was the inventor of the torpedo bat.
Yes.
I'd already forgotten. It was only 2 months ago, less than 2 months ago.
And you don't
so-
even hear about torpedo bats anymore.
I know. What happened?
It was just the fat. I mean, they're still using it, but it was just a.
It wasn't
fad
even
that
like the hula hoop. It just faded so fast.
Yeah.
It makes sense, though. Sweeter spot, more sweet spot, more home runs.
How about the teams that's been kind of on the streaking on a good end? So we
Yeah,
we're
we'll
done
do
talking
shining
about
stars. Let's go to the positivity.
The shining star. I don't have the baseball here, but I got the hockey, the Golden Knights. It's not too often you get a game-winning goal, but with 0.4 of a second on the clock, so that was my shining. So that was my shining star of that there
Good one.
yeah.
With 0.4 of a second left.
Yeah.
That's part of the story. I'm right. I wrote that down already. So on the local scene, I'm going with Jameer Robinson. Won the mid-pen triple jump. I think he set a school record. So nicely done. We already talked about the Mavericks. And then this is another story that you broke to me. Do you put him in the hottest seat in sports or shining stars? It's to be determined. Shoeless Joe Jackson and Pete Rose now eligible for Hall of Fame consideration.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I knew that the president was pitching for Trump to be eligible, and Shoeless Joe, I guess, had some people in his corner as well.
You know, I said this before with Pete Rose, and it's just one of those things where, you know, I would have liked to see him get elected while he's still alive. But then as soon as he passes away, it's like, well.
It's a lifetime ban.
Yeah, it's the life. So I see both angles there, but, you know, for him to be, you know, pass away, and then we're going to reinstate, but then with, you know,
Don't worry, Pete. You're getting in. All you have to do is die, and
yeah,
you're in.
and then bam, you're in. So, you know, with Shoeless Joe Jackson, and it's like, you know.
And the allegation was he bet on his own team or he bet on baseball. He was acquitted by a jury.
Mm-hmm. And you wait all these.
I mean, Pete Rose did time for tax evasion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. What is there a character? Should there be a character criterion for Hall of Fame consideration? I don't know. Do they say anything as to who? What's disqualifying? I guess Pete, the commissioner, said you're disqualified for your conduct.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a line in the sand. I'm just not sure where it is.
Yeah, I mean, you open this up. I'm not saying all the steroid players. You know, you open up
They're
that.
eligible, but nobody's voting for them
So it's,
because they cheated.
Yeah, so I'm not saying open up Pandora's box, but it's very curious. Now he's not in the Hall of Fame. He still has to get voted in by the writers and all that. So
Yeah,
I think.
not only did Sammy Sosa use steroids, he corked his bat.
Mm-hmm. You know, so, you know, I look at it, I think he would still make the Hall of Fame. I think the writers will vote him in, but,
Who?
you know, with Pete.
Pete Rose, yeah, and I think, I mean, Joe Jackson played a long time ago, so you look at his numbers, though, he's probably Hall worthy.
You know,
I forget, I read a few years ago, I think it was during the pandemic, Joe Posnanek's Baseball 100. So it was, Pete Rose was in there, but number 44 or something. I don't know about Shoeless Joe. I don't know if he was in there.
I don't know.
I remember one of the Orioles was the number 100. He pitched for the Orioles. He's from, starts with an M.
Mike Messina.
Mike Messina, thank you. From Scranton or
Yep,
somewhere
as
up
soon as you
there.
said the M, I knew exactly.
A call? Oh, something we've been waiting for so long. Welcome to Sports Chat. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Jeff.
Carl?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Carl. How are you? I saw Carl a few weeks ago, and we were hoping.
I thought that was your twin brother.
Yeah, no, that was me. So how you doing?
Hey, Jeff, I just seen it. I turned the news on ESPN before I turned the Owens on. And I think that Pete Rose should have got in years ago.
Yeah. He only bet on his own team. And yeah. Fire. Can you not, if you're a Philly fan, how can you not love Pete Rose? He caught that ball that bounced off the glove of Bob Boone to save the day. 1980, he showed him how to win. So he's an all-time Philly. I don't know if they retired number 14, but, I mean, nobody played with more heart than he did. Go ahead.
Did you like Gary Maddox?
The Secretary of Defense, of course I like Gary Maddox, number 31. I mean, yeah, I don't know if he's a Hall of Fame. He's maybe in the Hall of Pretty Good Players. That's not quite the Hall of Fame,
That's not
but
the Hall of Fame.
Tug McGraw, buddy.
struck out Willie Wilson to win the 1980 World Series final out. You gotta believe.
Hey, not to get graphic or nothing. Remember Pete Rose couldn't play because he had hemorrhoids?
That was George Brett. George Brett.
George Brett.
I'm sorry. What did I do?
You said Pete Rose. Yeah.
He might have had him, but he was so tough he played right through it.
Hey, but anyway.
That's a little too much information, but yeah.
Hey, Jeff, I think that Pete Rose was, I would give him one of the top 10 best players of all time. Would you rank him in the top 10, Jeff?
I was just talking about this book I read. He was maybe like 40th. So, I mean, in terms of, yeah, he's the all-time hit king. Played for winners, switch hitter, not much speed, played a lot of different, defensively he was okay.
I mean, you look at the era back then, in the 70s, the way that Rose played,
Yeah.
it was almost he was playing in an era before his time. I mean, just
Yeah.
the way, the
And he was a
multiple
throwback.
positions
I mean,
he played, too.
the running over of Ray Fosse that ruined Fosse's career in the All-Star game, it didn't mean anything. That's just the way he was. He'd draw a free pass, he'd sprint down to first. So, I mean, I guess he was, when they first came into the league, they thought he was a hot dog, and maybe they always did, but man, that guy, well, that's why they called him Charlie Hustle. He hustled.
Hey, Jeff,
Yes.
who do you think in today, in the modern era, would kind of resemble Pete a little bit?
It's probably a mixture of a lot of players because I don't.
How about this, like, Corbin Carroll has a lot more speed. Like
I think of as like maybe a Luis Larraz, the one that has contact and has that
yeah,
average.
I like that, because,
I can see that there, but I don't.
and he's okay defensively.
He plays multiple.
And he's won a couple
positions
batting
there.
titles, like one in each league, right? I like that, very good. I can't top that.
Now, Jeff, one of my nieces lives in San Diego, and her husband is a huge Pirate fan. What are their chances, Corey?
You mean the Padres?
Yes.
I was going to say the Pirates have no chance.
The Padres, San Diego.
Yes, yes.
My niece lives in San Diego, and her husband is a huge Pirate fan. San Diego Padres, I'm asking you, what are their chances to win it all?
I mean, I like their chances to win the division. You look at that division. They're 25-15. I think that's going to be a battle of them and the Dodgers. I think their chances of that division, a battle a little bit there, but I think they're
They
gonna
already started a little bit, but,
on a 4-game losing streak there with the Giants there. But the Padres, I think, is not a sneaky team there because I think they have a respect within the league and then with fans and all that there. But it wouldn't surprise me to see the Padres be the representative in the National League.
Do you think that they can win it all? They have a chance.
I mean, I guess it's, if their starting pitching holds up, don't they get Darvish back at
Darvish
some
is coming back
point?
in a couple
Hey,
weeks there.
Jeff, do they got Estrada?
Estrada?
The Padres?
I don't-
know. I don't know.
I don't.
Is Hader still their closer?
It's actually Suarez, Robert Suarez.
Is their closer?
Yep,
Okay.
that's their closer. Let me go to
When the O's get their closer back? I know I'm changing the subject, but
Bautista. Yeah, he started
working his
the
way
season, and he's slowly maybe getting 2 days work back-to-back days there. But Estrada, that's their. I see it as a reliever, Jeremiah Estrada.
He's very, very good. I watched him not too long ago, and he was excellent.
Yeah, I was thinking of the other Estrada there, but yeah, looking at his numbers right now, he's got let me see here, let me get better here. 19 and 1/3 innings pitched with only 5 runs or 4 earned. He's really looking at the graphic here, a very contact to the picture there, and he has 28 strikeouts. So his K per 9 is just over the moon there. So it's like a
That's his
13.
That's my niece's favorite, her husband's favorite player. He really likes him. And he met him, he talked to him, got his autograph and all, so he's good. He's good. I watched him, a couple times. And do you think that their biggest threat's the Dodgers then?
Yeah, I think their biggest competition in the National League is probably, see what happens in the NL East there with the Mets and the Phillies. I wouldn't count the Braves out there, a game under 500. They're kind of crawling their way back from being 0-9.
When's Acuna? Is he supposedly coming back in July? Or
Late June going into July there.
he could give him a big lift.
But I like their chances, to win the National League. Now, in the American League, the team that I would say is probably I could see like a World Series matchup, Padres, Tigers, that would be, that'll be different,
Hey, Jeff, I want to ask you this. Has the Padres ever won the World Series?
No.
No, they haven't.
They're one of the
I
few
think
teams.
it stated that 1984 that they lost. Does that bring back anything? Who would that have been?
I can get that.
Tony Gwynn played on that team, probably.
It was in 84 that they said that
Didn't they lose to the Red Sox in 04? I think they got swept
That
out
was
by
the
the Red
Tigers.
Sox. It was Tigers in 84, Tigers, Padres. Good job, Carl. You're right on it. Right on it.
So do you think that this is one of the best teams that they've had for a while?
The Tigers or the Padres or
It was
both?
the Padres.
I think this is probably their stepping stools of, where they've been. Having Tatis, having Manny Machado.
And a healthy Tatis because he was hurt a lot last year.
And
He's on Corey, isn't he on the downside of his career?
No. Oh, Machado?
yeah,
I
he's
don't
still
know.
putting up numbers there. I mean, he's 32. I wouldn't say the downhill of his career there, but he's still producing there. Looking at their lineup, it's a very hitter first.
Yeah, it's just a long shot.
I wrote it down for posterity. This will be in the Smithsonian someday,
You're not going to like that because you're a huge Philly fan. But I've just really gotten into the Padres lately because I've been talking to my niece's husband, like I said.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot, And he goes, you got to watch, we got to watch, blah, blah, blah. So, I started getting into them not too long ago, and I kind of like them.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely a scary team.
But now, when I was at junior high and high school, back in the day, Jeff, my team was the A's. I'd go to school wearing an Oakland A's jacket. Everybody hound me for it. Back in the day when they had, White and Blue and Catfish Hunter, Sal Bando, Gene Tennis, Reggie Jackson. That was my team, and it will always be my team. Even though I'm Pennsylvania, but I was a huge A fan, and now I like the Padres.
Well, they're definitely a team to be reckoned with. If starting pitching is solid, they're going to outscore a lot of teams.
So, Corey, who would you say at this stage right now who's better, San Diego or the Phillies?
I mean, looking at the way that they've been playing and such, I would probably say the Friars of the Padres. I think the Phillies. I think they're the bullpen will probably just need a little upgrade a little bit there.
Yeah, they just got off a 5-1 road trip, and then St. Louis, the hottest team in baseball
Yes.
right now, was their, 8th in a row when they won last night? 9th in a row?
Mm-hmm.
So Phillies lose 3-2. They gave up a late home run. Matt Strom's cruising along, and some guy takes him yard. That was it.
Now, Corey, how they have early predictions in preseason and all.
Mm-hmm.
So what team right now that they expected to do really, really good and they're not doing so well? Who's that right now?
Probably the Orioles. The team that I root for and such there. The Orioles are 15-24. They are 5 games back from the third wild card spot. I think it's just they've been decimated with injuries and just their
Pitching
the
especially.
Pitching has just been horrible at times, and you're losing games, not even scoring more than 4 runs. Their schedule softens up a little bit, but you're playing the Twins that are on an 8-game winning streak as well. Speaking of a team that's streaking there, so I think it's just them getting off on a bad foot there. You're up to 39 games, so you're almost at that quarter part of the season where you want to get in the stride there. So if I have to say of a team that's been a disappointment, I would say the Orioles. In the National League, I would probably say,
Braves.
I would say the Braves. Until they're at
Low-hanging
500,
fruit.
I would say the Braves. The other one I would say, this was my pick to win the division, was the Reds. They're 20-22.
But is St. Louis in first place yet in that division?
1 game back
Of the
there.
Cubs.
So, looking at the strides with the Cardinals, if you would have asked me that last week, I would have said the Cardinals were, kind of in that fringe.
They have kind of a no-name roster except for Arenado, but
Yeah, they really didn't spend or anything like that.
I've heard of the guys. Wins, the upcoming young shortstop. Go ahead, Carl.
Now, on the flip side of that, one team that people thought that were going to be like really, really bad, it's doing really, really good right now.
Well, for a while it was the Giants until this.
This little
losing streak.
skid there, yeah.
Well, your team, the Athletics.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you go first, and I'll
Well,
kinda-
no, go ahead.
Yeah, so I would say the team that's kind of on the surprise is the Athletics. They're 21-20. They own that last wild card spot, and if you look at the wild card in the American League, it's so wide open. You have 6 teams that are either tied for that last wild card spot with the Athletics, the Twins, and the Red Sox, and you got the Rangers, Astros, Blue Jays, or a half game back there. But
Wow.
you look at the Athletics, they're
Way early.
I like the style of the play. They're improving team. I said
They got
this,
some scary pieces too. If you got to play them,
especially if you're
they swept
trailing
the
in the
Phillies
ninth.
last year. Yeah.
You got Mason Miller coming in the game. That's never a tall task. But
But anyway, this guy at work made a mockery of the A's last year, how bad they were. He's a big O fan, and the tables have turned, so to speak. Now the A's are doing good, and the Orioles are struggling, like you said. And you just never know, I guess.
yeah, it's
So
so
you
early.
think that the O's are digging themselves deeper.
Yeah, you're at that point when you take 2 out of 3 against the Angels, and that's good. But you need sweeps now. You dug yourself. You look at the Braves. They're winning games, but they're still 1 game under 500. You need a 5, 6, 7 game winning streak. You look at the Twins. You're on an 8-game winning streak. You're 1 game above 500. So you look at that threshold mark.
The Orioles' longest winning streak of the year is how many games?
I believe 2, or it's no.
They
it's not
haven't
3,
won-
but yeah,
Somebody.
win a game. It's just the way they're off to a strong start. I would say from
Skeens. What's there's probably a line out of Vegas on him winning the Cy Young, and the odds probably keep getting longer and longer.
just the way he's been pitching.
Yeah.
The Pirates coach got fired, right?
He's in a hot seat.
Yeah.
Derek Shelton.
Yeah.
Hey, did you guys know the status of that the gentleman that fell? I haven't heard anything.
I heard that he had improved. I haven't heard.
He's making slow gains there. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
I know.
20-year-old.
If it was me in my 60s, I'd be gone. But
21 feet. That's a long way to fall.
But was that really, really high that he fell?
Well, that's the 21-foot wall because of Clemente. He wore number 21, and apparently it was a waist-high railing, and he went right over it.
He just kind
How
of.
can you survive that?
I don't know. He depends how you land, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. The landing and the fall and such there, but yeah, I was surprised and all that. They just kind of see the severity of the fall and all that.
That's not something when you're playing right field that you expect to happen. A fan fall out of the stands.
So you guys, how is Robert's Houston Astros doing?
Well, they're right into that mix where, I was saying about the teams in that wild card. They're tied with the Astros. or I mean, they're tied with the Athletics there with that last wild card spot there, but it's no one's running away with that, that wild card. That's why, the O's are 5 games back there. So if they can start winning games, they can get into this mess. You look at the Twins, they're on this 8-game winning streak. They brought them up there. So the Astros, I think it's just their pitching has been kind of like the bugaboo. Yesterday, Gusto, gave up 7 runs, and that's not a
And after,
rousing,
where's Altuve playing? Weren't they going to move him to the outfield?
back in the infield.
He's
there.
back at second
Yeah.
base.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
back at his home spot there. So.
Yeah, well, that didn't make sense.
So Corey, you would think for that wild card spot, there's a lot of parity, so to speak.
It seems like it, and then you don't see teams trading right away because they're so close to that third wild card spot. Sometimes it's fool's gold because it's like, oh, I'm so close. I'm not going to trade the pieces there. But
Yeah, well, some teams, I remember this is probably 10 years ago. You're 2 or 3 games out at the All-Star break and you become sellers because you don't think you can do it.
Yep.
It's kind of, the fans don't want that kind of attitude. But listen, yeah, go ahead, Carl.
I seen in the newspaper today, the Gettysburg Times, I was browsing through it, and do the Eagles have a home game right off the bat with the Cowgirls?
Yeah, it's a Thursday night opener.
September 4th.
Yeah, the Cowboys, I mean, didn't they got Pickett? They picked Pickett up from the Steelers?
George Pickens, yeah.
George Pickens, I'm sorry. Pickett he's the quarterback.
Yeah.
Pickens, but is he the next Antonio Brown? We'll leave it at that
Yeah.
because we got to go. Carl, it's been great talking to you. Hopefully you can
Hey,
join us again next week.
I told it to your twin brother Jim the other day.
Well, how is Jim? We don't get,
It's pretty good.
we don't spend a lot of time together. All right.
I'm going to call Sports Chat on Tuesday night.
Well, I'm glad he told you to do it. We appreciate you.
Hey, you guys have a great week. It's always good talking to you guys.
You're the best. Carl, thank you. All right. Parting thoughts? Final shout outs?
Got nothing there.
Okay, we didn't even talk football, so
A little bit there.
we got plenty to build on for next week.
Talk about all the schedule release that.
Yeah, all the foreign games, and well, you kind of covered that. So, all right. Well, listen. Special thanks to Jordan and Sean for all their fine work, and until next Tuesday, don't forget trivia comes your way in about 15 minutes. Until then, good night, everybody. Mahalo. See you next time, sports fans. Good night. I know. Rejuvenated.
Bethany Christian Services as they hold their Walk Run, Walk in Love event to support their Safe Families for Children program, keeping children and families together in Pennsylvania. Taking place on May 17th, beginning at 9 a.m. at the Horse Athletic Center parking lot in Lancaster. Event highlights include fun run for kids, toddler race, food trucks, bounce houses, games, a vendor market, and so much more. By participating, you'll raise awareness and provide crucial support for families facing challenges like poverty, homelessness, and health issues. Together, we can make a lasting impact by building stronger, united communities. For more information, you can visit bethany.org/centralpa/walk. Fat Bat Brewing is holding their Art Fest 2025 on May 17th from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Come out and celebrate all things art, from their first ever auction of a Fat Bat painting by Kevin Smith, working artist displays, live music with an open mic, art-inspired handcrafted drinks, and so much more. There's plenty to check out.